Telescopium is a minor constellation in the southern celestial hemisphere, one of 12 named in the 18th century by French astronomer Nicolas-Louis de Lacaille and one of several depicting scientific instruments. Its name is a Latinized form of the Greek word for telescope. Telescopium was later much reduced in size by Francis Baily and Benjamin Gould. The brightest star in the constellation is Alpha Telescopii, a blue-white subgiant with an apparent magnitude of 3.5, followed by the orange giant star Zeta Telescopii at magnitude 4.1. Eta and Pisa Telescopii are two young star systems with debris disks and brown dwarf companions. Telescopium hosts two unusual stars with very little hydrogen that are likely to be the result of two merged white dwarfs. PV Telescopii, also known as HD 168,476, is a hot blue extreme helium star, while RS Telescopii is an Arc-Coronae Borealis variable. R Telescopii is a cataclysmic variable that brightened as a nova to magnitude 6 in 1948. History. Telescopium was introduced in 1751–52 by Nicolas-Louis de Lacaille with the French name Le Telescope, depicting an aerial telescope. After he had observed and catalogued 10,000 southern stars during a 2-year stay at the Cape of Good Hope, he devised 14 new constellations in uncharted regions of the southern celestial hemisphere not visible from Europe. All but one honored instruments that symbolized the Age of Enlightenment. Covering 40 degrees of the night sky, the telescope stretched out northwards between Sagittarius and Scorpius. Lacaille had Latinized its name to Telescopium by 1763. The constellation was known by other names. It was called Tubus Astronomicus in the 18th century, during which time 3 constellations depicting telescopes were recognized: Tubus Herscheli Major between Gemini and Auriga, and Tubus Herscheli Minor between Taurus and Orion, both of which had fallen out of use by the 19th century. Johann Bode called it the Astronomische Fernrohr in his 1805 Gestion and kept its size, but later astronomers Francis Baily and Benjamin Gould subsequently shrank its boundaries. The much reduced constellation lost several brighter stars to neighboring constellations. Beta Telescopii became Eta Sagittarii, which it had been before Lacaille placed it in Telescopium. Gamma was placed in Scorpius and renamed G Scorpii by Gould. Theta Telescopii reverted to its old appellation of D Ophiuchi, and Sigma Telescopii was placed in Corona Australis, initially uncatalogued. The latter is now known as HR 6875. The original object Lacaille had named Eta Telescopii, the open cluster Messier 7, was in what is now Scorpius, and Gould used the Bayer designation for a magnitude 5 star, which he felt warranted a letter. Characteristics. A small constellation, Telescopium is bordered by Sagittarius and Corona Australis to the north, Ara to the west, Pavo to the south, and Indus to the east, cornering on Microscopium to the northeast. The 3-letter abbreviation for the constellation, as adopted by the International Astronomical Union in 1922, Bullstel. The official constellation boundaries, as set by Eugene Delporte in 1930, are defined by a quadrilateral. In the equatorial coordinate system, the right ascension coordinates of these borders lie between 18h 09.1 meters and 20 hours 29.5 minutes, while the declination coordinates are between -45.09 degrees and -56.98 degrees. The whole constellation is visible to observers south of latitude 33 degrees north. Notable features. Stars within the constellation's borders. There are 57 stars brighter than or equal to apparent magnitude 6.5. with a magnitude of 3.5. Alpha Telescopii is the brightest star in the constellation. It is a blue-white subgiant of spectral type B3IV which lies around 250 light-years away. It is radiating nearly 800 times the Sun's luminosity, and is estimated to be 5.2 plus or minus 0.4 times as massive and have 3.3 plus or minus 0.5 times the Sun's radius. Close by Alpha Telescopii are the two blue-white stars sharing the designation of Delta Telescopii. Delta Telescopii is of spectral type B6IV and apparent magnitude 4.9, while Delta Squared Telescopii is of spectral type B3II and magnitude 5.1. They form an optical double, as the stars are estimated to be around 710 and 1190 light-years away respectively. The faint Gliese 754, a red dwarf of spectral type M4.5 volts, is one of the nearest 100 stars to Earth at 19.3 light-years distant. Its eccentric orbit around the galaxy indicates that it may have originated in the Milky Way's thick disk. At least 4 of the 15 stars visible to the unaided eye are orange giants of spectral class K. The second brightest star in the constellation, at apparent magnitude 4.1, is Zeta Telescopii, an orange subgiant of spectral type K1II, around 1.53 times as massive as the Sun. It shines with 512 times its luminosity. Located 127 light-years away from Earth, it has been described as yellow or reddish in appearance. Epsilon Telescopii is a binary star system. The brighter component, Epsilon Telescopii, is an orange giant of spectral type KOII with an apparent magnitude of plus 4.52, while the 13th magnitude companion, Epsilon Telescopii b, is 21 arcseconds away from the primary, and just visible with a 15 cm aperture telescope on a dark night. The system is 417 light-years away. Iota Telescopii and HD 169,405 magnitude 5 orange giants of spectral types KOII and K0.53 respectively make up the quartet. They are around 370 and 497 light-years away from the Sun respectively. Another aging star, Kappa Telescopii, is a yellow giant with the spectral type G9II and apparent magnitude of 5.18. Around 1.87 billion years old, this star of around 1.6 solar masses has swollen to 11 times the Sun's diameter. It is approximately 293 light-years from Earth, and is another optical double. G Telescopii is an irregular variable star that ranges between magnitudes 4.89 and 4.94. Located 1079 light-years distant, it is a red giant of spectral type M2II that has a diameter around 5.6 times the Sun's, and a luminosity around 2,973 times that of the Sun. Another irregular variable, RX Telescopii, is a red supergiant that varies between magnitude 6.45 and 7.47, just visible to the unaided eye under good viewing conditions. BL Telescopii is an algol-like eclipsing binary system that varies between apparent magnitude 7.09 and 9.08 over a period of just over 778 days. The primary is a yellow supergiant that is itself intrinsically variable, dipping from its baseline magnitude of 9.6 to 16.5. RS Telescopii is a rare Coronae Borealis variable, an extremely hydrogen-deficient supergiant thought to have arisen as the result of the merger of two white dwarfs. Fewer than 100 have been discovered as of 2012. The dimming is thought to be caused by carbon dust expelled by the star. As of 2012, 4 dimmings have been observed. Alpha Telescopii is a Class B-type extreme helium star that is the prototype of a class of variables known as Alpha Telescopii variables. First discovered in 1952, it was found to have a very low level of hydrogen. One theory of its origin is that it is the result of a merger between a helium and a carbon-oxygen white dwarf. If the combined mass does not exceed the Chandrasekhar limit, the former will accrete onto the latter star and ignite to form a supergiant. Later this will become an extreme helium star before cooling to become a white dwarf. While Alpha Telescopii, also designated Nova Telescopii 1948, is often called a slow nova, it is now classified as a symbiotic nova system composed of an M5 pulsating red giant and a white dwarf. Between 1944 and 1948 it brightened by about 7 magnitudes before being noticed at apparent magnitude 6.0 in mid-1948. It has since faded slowly to about apparent magnitude 12. QS Telescopii is a binary system composed of a white dwarf and main sequence donor star. In this case the two are close enough to be tidally locked, facing one another. Known as polars, material from the donor star does not form an accretion disk around the white dwarf, but rather streams directly onto it. This is due to the presence of the white dwarf's strong magnetic field. Although no star systems in Telescopium have confirmed planets, several have been found to have brown dwarf companions. A member of the 12-million-year-old Beta Pictoris moving group of stars that share a common proper motion through space. Zeta Telescopii is a young white main sequence star of magnitude 5.0 and spectral type AOV. It has a debris disk and brown dwarf companion of spectral type M7V or M8V that is between 20 and 50 times as massive as Jupiter. The system is complex, as it has a common proper motion with the star HD 181327, which has its own debris disk. This latter star is a yellow-white main sequence star of spectral type F6V of magnitude 7.0. Zeta Telescopii is another young star with a debris disk and substellar brown dwarf companion, though at 24 million years of age appears too old to be part of the Beta Pictoris moving group. HD 191760 is a yellow subgiant, a star that is cooling and expanding off the main sequence of spectral type G3IV-V. Estimated to be just over 4 billion years old, it is slightly more massive as the Sun, 2.69 times as luminous, and has around 1.62 times its radius. Using the high-accuracy radial velocity Planet Searcher instrument on the ESO 3.6 meters telescope, it was found to have a brown dwarf around 38 times as massive as Jupiter, orbiting at an average distance of 1.35 astronomical units with a period of 505 days. This is an unusually close distance from the star, within a range that has been termed the brown dwarf desert. Deep sky objects. The globular cluster NGC 6584 lies near Theta Array and is 45,000 light-years distant from Earth. It is an Oosterhoff Type 1 cluster and contains at least 69 variable stars, most of which are Lyrae variables. The Planetary Nebula Ic 4699 is of 13th magnitude and lies midway between Alpha and Epsilon Telescopii. IC 4889 is an elliptical galaxy of apparent magnitude 11.3, which can be found 2 degrees north-northwest of 5.3-AMAGNITUDE New Telescopii. Observing it through a 40 cm telescope will reveal its central region and halo. The Telescopium group is a group of 12 galaxies spanning 3 degrees in the northeastern part of the constellation, lying around 37 megaparsecs from our own galaxy. The brightest member is the elliptical galaxy NGC 6868, and to the west lies the spiral galaxy NGC 6861. These are the brightest members of 2 respective subgroups within the galaxy group, and are heading toward a merger in the future, occupying an area of around 4 feet times 2. NGC 6845 is an interacting system of 4 galaxies, 2 spiral and 2 lenticular galaxies, that is estimated to be around 88 megaparsecs distant.